Thank you so much for being on the show, Chelsea.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Let's start with the limits. What do you see some of the really good sellers and brands do when it comes to restock limits?
There are a couple of things, and you kind of have to prepare in advance. So the focus right now would be on let's increase our sales, let's increase our sell-through. Smaller orders more frequently would be something to focus on. Some of the ways that you can also bolster this, increasing your sales is something that you'll want to do. You can do this by using multi-channel fulfillment. Your Shopify, your eBay, whatever it is, could help to increase your restock limits, and then having that backup of fulfilled by merchant. So those are some of the things that should be thought of when you're looking at restock limits.
What else should brands and agencies think about when it comes to restock limits?
Sure. Yeah, let's jump into things that hurt your restock limits. Stockouts obviously will hurt your restock limits. Excess inventory hurts your restock limits. All of these factor into that sell-through equation. A lot of this directly affects your inventory performance index score.
This year, what is on your list of things that sellers should think about when it comes to being flexible around how they run and operate their logistics?
Nowadays, we have to use what's called just-in-case inventory. So there's been more of a doubling up of extra inventory that you keep in various different places, just in case you can't rely on Amazon to check your stuff in or something gets stuck at the port. There is a golden rule to adopt, which is never let anyone have all your stuff. And the system would have to include how do we buy in for more inventory and at the same time make sure our cash flow doesn't go crazy. To control the cash flow, you want to negotiate with your supplier to hold the excess inventory, and then you can also usually talk them into, okay, let's pay the initial payment, full payment, but then I'm only paying the final payment on what shipped. Then if you have an emergency, you have that inventory, you can airship it, but only if you need to. You don't want to airship it unless you absolutely need to incur the cost and it's going to be more costly to run out. So that would be kind of how you would set up logistics flexibility. It gives you the option to make a different move rather than locking you into being stuck.
Are you starting to see a move into more inventory being held onshore? Just in case inventory sounds very expensive from a working capital point of view.
There's definitely been an increase. There are people who never had a 3PL in their life, and then 2020 came around and they had to because of restock limits. So because of restock limits, most people are forced to have, a 3PL, to have an additional fulfilled by merchant option as well, separate from, a 3PL that does your replenishment, just sends cartons or pallets into Amazon FBA. Also, the trend has been to have an additional option to fulfill your orders. If Amazon doesn't check your stuff in, you still want to be able to take sales on Amazon and not rely on Amazon as the only way to distribute those products to your customers. Those are two things that we've seen crop up and become more popular in the past couple of years. And it's mostly because you can't trust the supply chain and Amazon's restock limits.
How can we speed things up? There's nothing more frustrating than sending a whole container or a whole big shipment into Amazon only for it to be checked in the Tuesday after Cyber Weekend, right?
Yes.
What can you do to avoid situations like that?
The first thing that I'll say is talk to the owners of your 3PL, your freight forwarders, the people who are actually shipping your stuff in. What you want to do, it's going to be more expensive. It's going to tend to be more expensive, but if you've been having these problems, you'll want to pay the extra money for something called live unload. And that is usually a company that has not bought into agreeing with Amazon. It's not an Amazon trailer. They don't have a contract. Ask your 3PL who's the best, that you use for live unload.
How do they make sure that the receipt rate of Amazon is as close as possible to 100%?
I would say, just not committing errors on your end to begin with. Making sure that each of those shipments were delivered. And sometimes you need to look at making sure that you see the tracking numbers and that it's actually moving and tracking, because it's possible that at your warehouse you left something off. Those are errors on your end that you can control. and then just being accurate.
What is the price of going out of stock? How do you think about marketing strategies alongside out of stock? Where is that balance?
So in terms of, some of the prices of going out of stock, obviously now we have restock limits to think with. If we've stocked out, then that's going to decrease our restock limits. And then financially, there are a lot of different costs involved. Obviously, running out of stock and not being able to sell, coming back in stock, and having to pay to re-rank is another one. The number one reason that people stocked out was because they marketed themselves into a stock out. Another one is they gave all their stuff to someone, Amazon or put it on a boat or whatever, ran out of stock. Or they discovered a really cool hack for boosting their conversion rate or whatever it is, and they couldn't sustain. Those are some of the main costs of stocking out.
What does it look like in terms of like weekly interaction between the inventory team or the supply chain team and the marketing team? Where do I start? What would be a good place to facilitate that interaction?
It starts with I think the easiest one is the marketing team giving a plan to the inventory team, because those systems are more set up. And we actually have a free template for this. If you went to SoStocked.com/tools, we have an inventory-minded marketing planner that you can use to send this to your inventory team. And then as far as the inventory report, those should be, created in an Excel spreadsheet. We have the ability to build those inside of SoStock.
There are viewers that are interested in getting in contact with you or exploring SoStocked, perhaps. What's the best way to do that?
They go to SoStock.com/connect. There's a lot of our socials there, demo account or demo of the software, as well as free tools and just various different things that would be helpful.